All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. If everybody can get their cameras back on. Our next speaker is Jeff Potter. Jeff, I see that you're here. Welcome. Everyone,
Morning.
Jeff Potter is the founder and CEO of Manifest Escapes and Skyroads Aviation, a private aviation company redefining how travelers access reliable premium air travel in the United States. With more than 40 years of leadership experience across aviation and hospitality, Jeff has built and transformed some of the industry's most recognized brands, including serving as president and CEO of Frontier Airlines, Surf Air Exclusive Resorts, and Vanguard Airlines. At Manifest, Jeff leads a unique multi service model that blends on demand charter, scheduled private aircraft, and service, bridging the gap between commercial airlines and traditional private aviation. Known for his strategic insight, operational discipline, and customer first mindset, Jeff is a respected voice in the future of air travel and an active member of the National Business Aviation Association, and he is based in Colorado. Jeff, welcome. How are you this morning?
Doing great. Good morning, everybody from Colorado.
Uh, so, so Jeff, we'll jump right in. And I know you come from a big military family, and you gave me a huge list, and I'd love for you to share that with everyone.
Sure, sure. Well, good morning. And I heard the prior speaker saying thank you for your service. And I don't know if there was a pushback on that, but thank you for your service. I was military brat. My dad was a retired colonel in the Air Force, served in Vietnam as a helicopter pilot. My older brother as a career Army officer, retired as a major, also a helicopter pilot. My older sister is a retired colonel out of the Air Force. Her husband's a retired commander out of the Navy. My younger sister's a retired colonel out of the Army, and her husband's a retired colonel out of the Army. My middle son um, was a Navy officer and is now a commercial airline pilot. And I have a nephew that's also a helicopter pilot out of the Army, and I have a niece that's pretty much on the fast track in the Navy. She's will be a commander this year. So I've grown up in the company of heroes. And as I was speaking with Ernie yesterday, um, the question has always come up, what happened to me? And I did join the Marine PLC program in college, and was hoping to be a naval flight officer for the Marines. My junior year, they dropped the program, so I had an option of becoming a grunt or on the ground infantryman or get out. I got out, um, and not a regret in my life, but it was a very frustrating time for me because that was kind of my life course. I'd been thinking about it and wanted to follow in my siblings and my father's footsteps, and it didn't work out, but things happen for a reason. I'm a believer of that. Um, and that got me into the airline um, industry. And I literally started at the bottom and was an aircraft cleaner when I was was at college up in Spokane, Washington, but I was still a little lost about what I wanted to do in life. And so the old Frontier Airlines, I'm probably older than all, well, I know I'm older than all of you. This was in the early 80s, and the old Frontier Airlines, there was an earlier version, was hiring ticket agents in Oakland, California. And I was offered one of the jobs. So I went to my parents and said, I want to quit college and go be a ticket agent. And got great advice at the time from my dad about, trying to find your passion in life and passion in business. And thankfully, I found that even at that stage. And um, as I mentioned, my siblings were all in the military, and I can assure you that despite what I suspect many of you have done in your career or during your time in the military, has moved a lot. Maybe not, but at the time, I think I've been at 6, 7 different airlines, and ultimately became CEO of Frontier Airlines. I joined here in 1995 as head of planning and marketing, VP of planning and marketing, and ultimately became the CEO. Got to do that for a while and was approached to do something completely different. So I had the opportunity to work for Steve Case, who founded AOL. He owns a very high-end destination club, also based here in Colorado. Did that. Ran the company Surf Air, which was a private aviation company scheduled out in California, which is what Manifest is replicating now. And also ran, I kind of laugh, I ran a company called CMH Heliskiing, which is for you snow skiers out there. It's the largest heliskiing company in the world. It's actually based in Banff. I was based here. That was a unique opportunity because I had quit skiing 40 years ago, and despite my aviation background, apologize. Despite my aviation background, I'm afraid of heights. So, anyways, it's been a very unorthodox career path. Been very, very blessed. I have the utmost admiration for anybody and everybody that served this country. You have unique skill sets that I yearn to find even to this day in the roles I've had. And so, anyways, it's a pleasure to meet you all. And that's kind of my background. I think one of the stories that was mentioned in the introduction, while my dad was in Vietnam, and this was in 65 and 66. If you've ever seen the movie We Were Soldiers Once, it's typically portrayed as the first battle of Vietnam, and there was actually one 2 weeks prior to that, and uh, it was an operation where a special forces camp was overrun basically by the same Vietnamese military units that went to the Ai Drang Valley. And my dad had a rescue mission. Uh, a, a pilot got shot down. He was on the ground for over 36 hours. So it was pretty widely covered. And dad rescued him, got his first Distinguished Flying Cross. But also during that time, he on his crew was a airman first class at the time, Bill Pitzenbarger, which was his paramedic. They had two pilots on the helicopter and um, a crew chief and then a paramedic. And in April of 66, they were on a mission, and Bill Pitzenbarger ended up being killed. But the story behind that is he was only 21, but the story behind that was he was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously 30 years later in the largest Medal of Honor ceremony in history. So, um, I was very engaged and remain to be very engaged with Veterans Affairs in a variety of different ways. But during that time, I would attend all the reunions that the Vietnam era pilots in my dad's unit, and since some of them have passed, I'm kind of the keeper, the historian of that period, and so I literally have the certificates, which I'm donating, um, the Medal of Honor certificates for Bill Pitzenbarger. So again, sorry, it's a long-winded intro from my standpoint, but I'm not sure if we open for questions or what exactly we would like me to do.
Well, Jeff, you had showed us a newspaper clipping yesterday. Can you show that to everyone?
The the letter.
Yes, I think it had a picture of your dad and the Medal of Honor winner that you were talking about.
Oh, I'm not, so I have two things. My dad passed away just over a year ago. He was 90. So there was two things. Um, he was kind of a hoarder, if you will. But there are two things. So like I said, I'm kind of the keeper of everything that um, is related to Vietnam because I immersed myself in that history and that time, not only in his life but in general. But this first thing is he had told me about this, but when we went through some of his belongings, I found this is a you can't really read it, but this is a draft letter. So this was written probably mid to late April of 1966, and it's a letter to Bill Pitzenbarger's parents. And the part that is obviously very special to me is um, the best way that I can say how much I thought of Bill is that I hope my two sons may grow up and become men like him. So that's something obviously very special. And then this is a photo. This is a helicopter you don't see too often anymore, but this is a HH 50 43 helicopter. That's my dad in the cockpit, and the guy with his hand out. That is Mel Elliott, who retired as a colonel, who I had the opportunity to meet. He was the one that was shot down and that they rescued. He was flying a Skyraider, which was a turboprop aircraft, just kind of bomb laden, was doing low approaches and got shot down. Well, they they didn't have an ejection seat, so he had to pop the canopy and actually climb on the wing and dive out. So that was a picture there. And Yeah, I've got so much. There was a book called Death in the Highlands that came out, I think in 2022, and it's about Play Me. It's about that battle. And again, obviously the pride I have in what my dad had done. There's a couple chapters. There's a chapter actually titled after him, and it talks about the battle. And then when Pitzenbarger got killed, there was a book called The Mud Soldiers, which is about Charlie Company of the Army, which I think even throughout the entire war, the company had about 180 um, men, and I think they had 80% killed or wounded. And that's where Pitzenbarger was helping evacuate the wounded. And that's when he got killed. Um, so yeah, my career, while unorthodox, and I've been very blessed and proud of what I achieved. It kind of pales in comparison um, to my siblings and probably all of you and my dad. So
And Jeff, you're still involved with is it the Medal of Honor Foundation that you were telling us
yeah,
about?
when I ran Frontier, we were very involved. And A gentleman that worked for me was an Air Force uh, veteran, and I made him our VP of Government and Military Affairs. And we really did immerse ourselves as a company that we would support veterans. And he, in my opinion, single-handedly got the Medal of Honor conference ceremony here, and I think that was in 2004, actually. And yeah, so if you saw the movie Your Soldiers once, I sat next to, I can't remember his name now, the pilot that also got the Medal of Honor. And so it was a unique experience. I was on the board of Center for American Values, which was founded by a gentleman named Drew Dix. Drew is a Medal of Honor winner from Pueblo, Colorado, and the Center for American Values is based down in Pueblo, Colorado. And what's interesting about Pueblo as it relates to that award is there's been 4 Medal of Honor winners from Pueblo, Colorado. And it was kind of interesting. Yeah, I see it. Home of the Heroes. I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but one of the presidents said there must be something in the water. But Drew's focus with Center for American Values is really focused on the high school age group, and so he goes out and speaks, travels, and talks really about discipline and organization. Um, that can be gained through the military, but that discipline that in my humble opinion, is something that's been lost somewhat over the years. And so I think it's quite a mission statement that he's created and he's fulfilling.
Well, we certainly appreciate your involvement with that. And switching gears just a little bit, Jeff, can you talk to us about Manifest and how that got started and what it's becoming today?
Sure, sure. So I started, this is one of those roller coaster rides that you we all have in life, and we certainly have in business. I've had in business. The airline business is a very challenging and humbling business in many respects. Um, but I went from that business to a very high-end hospitality company. So I started Manifest in 2019, and it was really focused on high net worth individuals. And what we did was we curated experiences from major airports. We were going to start in Denver, and these were outdoor experiences. They were married up off the beaten path, if you will. So whether it was golf, fly fishing, kind of outdoor experiences to get people in the outdoors. And we went out and created partnerships with private aviation companies. So, which we all know is not cheap, and got great press. So the value proposition resonated, I think, in general in the travel sector. We had a couple member events here in Denver, and within 2 weeks we had 162 members. Um, and our forecast was we needed between 105 and 115 to be break even. So it really took off. Well, my timing was impeccable, and we had a pandemic. And we all know what happened in the pandemic. One, even if it was domestic, we were only focused on groups of 6 to 8 people, private aviation, private terminals, outdoor activities, and domestic only. And despite that, no one really traveled. And I think we can all look back at the time. We were a little unclear of what it was, where we were going. And so we were supposed to launch in Memorial Day of 2020, and we delayed that. And we kind of hung on, myself and other investors, we kind of hung on for a couple years because we still believed in the niche. I still do today. Um, but the other thing, in addition to people not traveling, the other thing that happened was pricing of private aviation, as expensive as it already was, basically doubled. And so when I looked at the kind of the market niche, it basically went away. So I started looking at, how do we pivot? Which direction do we go? And I just went back to my roots to aviation, not commercial, but started looking at private aviation. So we started digging into what best path forward. And so I looked at 16 different private aviation companies that I would have to raise money to acquire, and just kind of fold it into Manifest, still be the driving force. And so we found one about a year and a half ago. We've leased our first aircraft. It's called a Pilatus PC-12. It's a Swiss-made aircraft, 8-seat interior. It's a turboprop, but it's fast. It's reliable, economic. It just checked all the boxes. And the vision is that we would, going back to my Surf Air days, we would have kind of like three legs of the stool, kind of a diversified revenue vision or strategy. Um, One is start scheduled service with private aircraft. I've mentioned it several times, but again, it's not cheap. However, if you can build a company with, especially with this aircraft, it's got an executive interior with 8 seats. If you sell it by the seat, it becomes much more affordable as opposed to if you charter out the entire aircraft. So we're going to start a scheduled service element. We're going to, with the one aircraft, we've been very successful already. We really started in June doing charters. We've got great crews. My former VP of Flight Ops from Frontier flies for us. My former director of flight standards and safety flies for us. So especially in the Colorado area, the mountains like Aspen, Telluride, Steamboat, Vale, you want obviously some very, very experienced pilots, which is what we have. What's happened in the last couple months, I've kind of set out that vision, but in the last couple months, we are in the midst, hopefully late stages of acquiring a much larger company, also in the private aviation space, that would allow us to kind of complete the third leg of the stool, which is have the right certifications to enter into the Essential Air Service program. And that's a federally funded program for 111 small communities around in the lower 48 that have lost air service over the last, well, since deregulation in the late 70s. And we don't want to be a company that's 100% reliant on federal funds. However, as it pertains to scheduled service, charters, and essential air service, it kind of complements the strategy in a couple different ways. It helps us have better asset utilization with the aircraft and pilots, and also helps cover our overhead costs. So we are in the midst of acquiring this company. We're under a letter of intent, but I'm in the midst of raising funds to acquire the company and the aircraft. So we have one aircraft today. My hope is if we visit again in 6 months, we would have 9, and then in December we would have 14 to 15. But the forecast is to be between 45 and 50 aircraft by 2030.
So it sounds like you're growing, and I know we said in the very beginning you're based out of Denver, but are you looking to expand to different locations
Oh,
around the country?
absolutely. California is going to be huge for us. The lower Southwest, Texas, the Permian Basin is going to be huge for us, and the Southeast is going to be huge for us. It's a model that I couldn't cast a wide net and say it's going to work everywhere in the United States. But there are pockets that, the Essential Air Service is smaller communities. So that's most heavy, west of the Mississippi, up in Montana, Texas is big, Kansas, Nebraska, the Dakotas. So that's going to be a big part of the business. The charters will follow along in those different areas. And then the scheduled service is, again, focused more on the high net worth individuals who are looking for an alternative. So when I ran Surf Air, we had 9 Pilatus aircraft, and we flew scheduled service from alternative airports. So for folks near LA, we flew out of Hawthorne. So someone can go to Hawthorne as opposed to going through the congested airports like LAX. And we didn't fly to SFO, we would fly to San Carlos, which was a small airport south of SFO. And we flew to Santa Barbara, Palomar Airport in North San Diego. We did fly to Burbank, Truckee, Napa, Oakland. So it was the model was very successful. So there are pockets where we can replicate that in those kind of those geographic areas that I mentioned. And again, to hard, there's an application for scheduled service here in Colorado. It's not huge. It's a little bit different. We would fly from what's called Centennial Airport, which is where our offices are at, south of the city, and we would fly into Aspen. There's a strong local market, second homeowners, but businesses for Aspen, Vail, Steamboat, and Telluride, which is predominantly leisure. Um, and there's probably 5 to 8 aircraft worth of flying there. So, um, yeah, a variety of different opportunities. The diversified revenue approach is really to create balance. All businesses are cyclical in the sense that the economy is cyclical. I think the peaks and valleys in the airline business is a little more challenging, maybe not, but part of my strategy is to ensure that we can move assets around when we go into more of an economic downturn.
Makes sense. So it seems like you've had to have a very flexible career in the various roles you've held. Can you talk about the importance of being flexible, through things like
Sure.
COVID?
Sure. I guess, when I give people advice, I go there's a couple elements that worked for me, may not work for everybody, but it was critical um, for me to find mentors. I'm a firm believer that there are folks out there that will listen, benefit. And I certainly had that. I had that from day one. In at Even as an aircraft cleaner, it was the manager of the airport of Frontier in Spokane that um, all I was doing was cleaning airplanes. But he saw something and recommended me to get this job in Oakland. There, the manager would take me to Denver, which was also their headquarters, and put me in charge of a variety of different things. I think it was 21 or 20. And so I always sought those out. I was never shy about asking a lot of questions and just making myself a sponge for information. And I always did that. I made myself available. Um, Again, I'm a firm believer that, and we can all agree that life sometimes isn't fair, but at the same time, I'm a firm believer you can make your own luck. And because I've been very lucky, but I think I had a say in that luck. The other thing I did that was always, even to this day, I feel is an overhang to me is, I everything that I could offer was done through the various jobs that I had. But I got to a point in my career pretty early, 3 or 4 years after I started, where I got into management. And once I got into management, it wasn't necessarily I didn't have a degree. It was I dropped out. And in some people's minds that was a little bit different. So what it did to me was there were no, there was, I've never had an 8 hour day, never. Um, I was sharing with someone the other day about this job. This is the hardest I've worked, but at the same time, this is the most fun I've had. Um, aviation to me is, going back to the advice I got from my dad about finding your passion. Um, it's almost a little different. I found my hobby. So I immerse myself if I'm not working strictly on the business, I try to make myself a student, of the industry and keep abreast of trends. Now, you know, I'm not on, no pun intended, but I'm not on the leading edge of a lot of trends. AI is new to me, but I'm taking online classes to figure it out. But yeah, the flexibility was always a big part and remains to be a big part of, what I do. Uh, a lot of it is about, in many respects, the world's gotten easier of how you find data, how you find information. Kind of a different little example is with the one aircraft we have, we secured a contract with a small hospital in Western Kansas called Scott City Hospital. And we now have a contract through 2026 that we fly doctors, medical personnel between Colorado Springs and Scott City at least twice a week. Well, once to twice a week. The hospital pays for it. So what that did to me is, well, this is kind of a unique offering. So somewhat timely is in the last 3 to 4 days, I feel as though I become pretty well versed in the opportunity there. The current administration a week ago, well, at the end of December, announced the big beautiful bill, and but within that, um, there's $50 billion dedicated over the next 5 years to rural hospitals, and the expenditure of that money is not well defined. A lot of it's technology, but at the same time, these rural hospitals, and it's called HPSA, and you go out to these hospitals, and in Kansas, for instance, there are 20, right around 25 hospitals in Kansas alone that are understaffed. So I actually have a call later today with the doctor that helped us put together this one thing. And, we're going to create another offering and, number one, support the efforts of improving healthcare in the rural communities, but at the same time, it's kind of a business avenue that will help us succeed.
So Jeff, you went to college, you did the PLC program, and that didn't work out, and you started out washing airplanes. Um,
Mm.
and obviously you're the CEO of a company and you've led multiple companies throughout your career. But looking back, what do you wish someone had told you earlier in your career?
Oh boy, that's one of those great questions that I'm not sure there's an easy answer for. Because I think this probably falls in the pot of more luck and being inquisitive. But I kind of had that. I wish um, if someone had talked to me earlier, it would probably not necessarily. I've had opportunities to finish my degree, and I've come close a couple times. I've done the online exchange. I finished 2+ years. Um, but I do think the world is changing. My generation, the 4-year degree was critical. I mean, it was really it was your ante, in a poker game to get or climb in a lot of job markets. These days, and we were talking about this yesterday, but these days, I can tell in aviation, we all hear about the pilot shortage. And it's actually going to get worse at the end of this year again and going into next year. And I mean, it is immense. But what people don't talk about is on the maintenance side. The shortage of A&P mechanics is as deep as it is for pilots. And there's not a large recognition. I don't think there's a large recognition. Well, that's going to a school for a couple of years and getting your foot in the door. Um, but again, I think I had the finding those mentors. I was actually, it was like a chapter of a book. I wasn't getting this overall end advice. I was getting one step at a time. Chapter one, I had a mentor. And I can tell you, every stop of the way, I had mentors, every stop of the way. And these were people that, um, when I went to Oakland, I'll give you an example. When I went to Oakland, I was single. I had Tuesdays and Wednesdays off. I was literally the lowest seniority person. And at the time, that Frontier probably had 6,000 employees. I was literally the bottom of the seniority list. But I asked my boss in Oakland, the city manager, I said, how do you schedule aircraft? And he goes, well, I really don't know, but I know who does it. So he introduced me to the director of schedules in Denver. On my days off, I would fly out on a Tuesday, fly to Denver, pay for my own hotel. Wednesday morning, I would come in, and the guy's name was Dallas Copen, and Dallas would sit with me for 4 hours. And this went on for 6 months, and I learned how to schedule an airline. And they finally had a job opening about a year and a half later. Well, I knew everybody there. It was on my time. I tried not to be a bother, that type of thing. Um, and so, that was an example. But, I was fortunate in the sense that I got good advice. I got good advice along the way. And I recognize there's a strong balance between being inquisitive and being a pain in the ass, to somebody. But if you're asking the questions and you are sincere in your desire to learn and get into the door, you mentioned earlier, it's about flexibility. I don't think I find too often where there is a job description out there or an opportunity out there that fits perfectly with anybody that is looking at that opportunity. I ran that situation with my oldest son. He has done very well. Was with the State Department. He's back here in Colorado now, and again has done very well. He's in cybersecurity, and that wasn't his normal course, but he's gotten attracted to it. He's immersed himself in it. But he's had a couple opportunities or thought he had opportunities. I just remember having a conversation. He goes, well, I look at this opportunity and I don't have everything they want. I go, well, no one does. No one does. Um, Again, I'm a big believer in work ethic. I'm a believer in I can't remember who said it in the past, but you know, we hire and I do. We'll be hiring there are certain areas of pilot, mechanics, but there are other areas that I would just characterize it as I look for thoroughbreds. as opposed to, the jockeys, probably not a great analogy, but you find the right people that are driven. Um, and all of you, in my opinion, most people, if not all coming out of the military, have that discipline that you're thoroughbreds. Um, so I think someone's got their hand up.
Yeah, Joshua's got his hand up. Go ahead,
Yeah, that's
Josh.
me. Good morning, Jeff. I was just
Hi,
wondering if you
Josh.
could talk a little bit more about the A&P certificate and then, because obviously you mentioned that mechanic shortage. What does that look like afterwards? Are people, working for like a shop? Are they going to Boeing as like a machinist mate? Are they working for Delta or American Airlines? What is that pathway and like, are there other certificates or associate's degree they need to have?
Yeah, great question. I'm gonna give you an anecdotal answer and then more specific. When we acquire this company, we will likely, um, we will likely not be able to have our major maintenance base in Denver. The reason why is United, Southwest, Frontier to a lesser extent, but they have a big facility. They have the greatest wherewithal, financial ability to hire mechanics. There's a path in private aviation that I think is very robust, and I would consider us, we're gonna have scheduled service, but I would consider us more of a private aviation company. The need for us is very robust, even to the extent that we're having conversation with two different states that, as part of our offer to them, is we will literally, while I'm probably going to be in Colorado, we'll keep the headquarters here, but the operational aspect of our business is going to have, a footprint in different areas of the country. That's where our maintenance is going to be. Um, so yeah, I mean, specifically, there's a great avenue in private aviation, but there's a great avenue in commercial aviation. And yes, of course, Boeing's terrific, even Airbus and Embraer, uh, they have a lot of their facilities in the States. So there's just a terrific opportunity all across the board. Now, I'm not the best person in terms of the A&P certificate versus what is required for, say, career growth. But I know the guy. It happens to be a guy here in Colorado who used to run Pilatus, which is the company, I mean, the aircraft that we operate. And he's been in business for 40 plus years. And there's some good schools here. I don't know in the military um, what certificates you have and what you don't have, but I guess bottom line or at the highest level, there's such a substantial need, and I think there's resources out there to help you guide more specifically on what you might need.
Okay, thanks very much.
You bet.
Somebody else had a question. Was it Nick?
Yeah, that Nick guy always has questions. Hey, real quick, Jeff, thanks for coming on and talking to us. Appreciate all your perspectives on things.
You bet.
That's actually what I was going to try to get right now from you. Just out of curiosity, advice that you would give the team, if, there's right now, most of us, at least for myself, been in the military my whole life. And now we're going out into the civilian world and trying to figure out what we want to do when we grow up. And what would your suggestion be if, somebody gets a job offer, pretty decent amount, could be a good role that they might enjoy, not sure because they've never done anything else outside of the military, or possibly joining up for like an internship where you kind of get in, your hands wet on things, get some experience in different realms with the possibility of maybe finding something else that you enjoy, and you're
Yeah.
getting reps in while you're going through the skill bridge program. Um, with but the other position could be like, it's like, yeah, we'll sign you on, but you're going to be in this role and this is what you're going to do. What's your suggestion beyond that?
I love the internship side. Again, we're a dot of a company right now. But what I can see in 6 months is I can guarantee you we will be hiring a lot of interns. Now in Colorado, you get paid and it's pretty healthy. Um, I can tell you that we're pretty we're actually better than most, if not all companies that I know of on the medical side is, I've never asked for employee contributions, so we pay it. So we're trying to create this environment. I'm huge on culture. When I was at Frontier, I got there with 300 employees, and when I left the company, we had close to 7,000. But I can tell you that we've all heard about the culture at Southwest Airlines, da da da. I would tell you during my tenure as CEO, and even prior to that, when I was running marketing and planning, it in hindsight is probably by far uh, the best company I've worked with or worked for. I'll never forget. Uh, we did a sports sponsorship here, and it was with the Colorado Rockies, which baseball team, kinda. They haven't had it. They've been suffering a couple years, but we did our first sports sponsorship. And one of the owners said to me, he goes, Jeff, you guys have crossed the line. You become a cult. And what he meant by that is we used to have to dig to hire people because we were kind of an unknown. An airline at the time was a little bit unsettling, unstable. But then we got to a point where we're making money. We had this great support from not only Colorado, but the whole Rocky Mountain region. And then we didn't have to, I mean, when we would put a job online or just put it out for job opportunity, we were overwhelmed. And to Dick's point, the owner of the Rockies, he just said, "You become a cult." And so I would, in the sense of a great culture being a cult, um, that's what I would look for. If you have the wherewithal that you can stick your big toe and it's more than twofold, but two critical areas is one, does it drive your interest? And number two, is the environment healthy? Um, um, on the side that you need to be wary of, all companies say we're employee oriented. All companies say, yeah, without the employees, but they got to walk the walk. And the way you learn that is if you have the ability, you have the timing, resources to go the internship route. I think almost everybody pays for that. It's a great way to crack the door open because that's kind of what I did when I shared the story of learning how to schedule. I kind of went there. I wasn't getting paid. I mean, I already had my salary, but that was kind of the internship where I said, "Hey, I'm free help. Yeah, you're going to have to walk me through some things," but that reinforced my passion for aviation. So hopefully that helps.
Thanks, Jeff.
Uh,
We got a couple more questions, but we're
okay,
starting to bump up on time here. So
okay.
David and then Michelle.
Good day, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good, David. I saw your note. Yes, it was Eisenhower.
I'm originally from Pueblo, so I can relate to
Oh,
all your locations. So up there in Centennial and whatnot,
yeah,
really like how your company is getting established and your expectation for growth. So I'd like to reach out to you on LinkedIn, look at possibly following up, if not now,
Absolutely.
here in the next 6 to 9 months, and look at some possible opportunities.
That would be terrific. I'd love to visit with you, Davey.
And thank you once again, Jeff.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Morning, Jeff. Michelle Goins here. I'm actually just south of Denver. I'm over here in the Highlands Ranch area. So I had connected with you on LinkedIn already, sent you a message already.
Great.
So I'm
Terrific.
definitely excited and interested in talking with you of
Great.
any job opportunities you have now or in the near future.
Terrific. Our offices are at Centennial, and we're probably equidistant. I'm over towards Saddle Rock Golf Course and Parker, that direction. So
Oh, perfect. Know the area. I just moved up here about a month and a half ago. Love it up here. It's absolutely beautiful. So yes, definitely very excited in connecting with
just
you.
just reach out. I'd be more than happy if, by the way, if any of you want to do LinkedIn and have site visits, if I can be helpful, just do it. I'd be more than happy to talk with you. And
All right,
Matthias,
Matthias, we got time for one more.
is he there or did we lose him?
I forgot to unmute myself. My bad. Hey, Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I saw your note. By the way, they're firing a lot of H-864 pilots with the downsizing. By the way, my chief pilot actually lives in Colorado Springs, and he has a flight school. His flight school is entirely 100% focused on RTAC, which is rotary pilots coming out of the military and helping them with the transition to fixed wing. Just as an
Yeah,
FYI.
yeah, I was gonna bring it up because I know like my cousin's in the reserves in Kentucky. His entire reserve aviation unit's shutting down. There's like
Yeah,
a whole bunch of like aviation units like downsizing and shutting down,
yeah,
like a
yeah,
more centralized. And
right.
eventually going to affect the maintainers also. 'Cause I'm an H-64 maintainer. I've been doing it for 8 years.
Okay.
I'm also working like aviation life support equipment. Like, yeah, it's gonna be like there's gonna be a huge influx of people trying to get their airframe and power plant license. Unfortunately, at least on the Army side, they're not that cooperative on trying to get your tickets for the ANP.
Interesting.
Yeah, because like
Well,
I'm trying to get my tickets right now, and the website I need to get on the new it's been down for like the past 2 months.
in general, I'll keep in touch with, um, the folks at Seven Eagle Academy. I think I could be helpful there. I heard this for the first time yesterday that there's not a perfect transition opportunity, and it makes no sense to me. So I think I might be able to be helpful in that regard. So stay tuned.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
All right,
Thank you.
Tim, go ahead. Couple more seconds. You got the last question.
Nice. Perfect timing. Hey, Jeff, thank you for
Hey,
telling about
Tim.
the story. I know we're pressed on time here, so I'm really excited to connect with you. A current H-60 pilot that's transitioning out, and I would love to connect with you. I already sent you a message on LinkedIn, but I would love
Perfect.
to talk more. Thank you for all the stories. That's been great.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tim. I wish I wish I had the opportunity to fly off a carrier back years ago. Well, not as a pilot, but going for a ride. But like I say, I ended up being afraid of heights. So maybe that's why that wasn't the course for me. But yeah, I've got a lot of great stories and would love to speak with you, Tim.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Jeff, absolutely appreciate your time today. As you can see, ton of people interested in connecting with you, and we just greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, all. Everybody take care. Thank you for your service. And I'm quite frankly humbled to be part of this group. So to have the opportunity to speak with you all. Ted, thank you.
Absolutely. Jeff, I'll catch up with you in a couple of days.
Sounds
Everybody
great.
else,